Welcome back to the Around the NFL podcast presented by Rocket Mortgage. Join Rocket Mortgage in saying thank you to essential workers by posting a video to everyoneknowsahero.com. Dan Hands is here, joined by, a bunch of heroes that I look at them and I'm just in awe. I'm just in awe. Mark Sessler, Chris Wessling, Greg Rosenthal. What's up, boys?
Hey, Dan.
And why not?
Your awe is appropriate, by the way.
Yeah, and let's get right to it because we have huge NFL trade news to talk about. So let's get to it. Tom Brady, no longer a member of the Patriots. He's connected to a new team, and he is not the only one leaving New England for Tampa. So is Rob Gronkowski. Rap Sheet has it the Patriots and Bucs have agreed to terms on a trade. Tampa gets Gronk and a seventh rounder in exchange for a fourth rounder. Sources say unbelievable. This from the agent, Drew Rosenhaus. Rob has agreed to play for Tampa this season. He will honor his current contract at this time. Okay. Gronk has taken his physical. It is a done deal, boys. This is one of those great pre-draft trades and one that, is it a surprise? Yes, it's a surprise, but not a shock, right, Greg Rosenthal? Gronk's back just with a different team than people expected.
I'm pretty shocked. I know there's been some thought maybe Gronk is going to come back at some point, but there wasn't a lot of people whispering about this 3 or 4 days ago. And to imagine that not only is Rob Gronkowski, the greatest tight end of all time, going to be back with, his quarterback, the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, with Bruce Arians, but that it's only going to cost them a fourth-round pick. I don't think the Patriots had much they could do in the way of leverage. They're getting something for basically nothing. But if you're a Buccaneers fan, and for me, if you're a football fan, I do think it's just going to be fun, and it makes me all the more anxious for this season to actually happen on time.
I'm a little disappointed in the four of us. When we were trying to make heads or tails last week of the O.J. Howard trade rumors, none of us connected the dots with the pro wrestling heavyweight title holder and Tom Brady. And here he is. This Bucs offseason is basically Bruce Arians' football philosophy come to fruition. No risk it, no biscuit. Go all in on Tom Brady. Now go get Gronk. And the last time we saw Gronk, he was laboring through the 2018 season. Dan had some questions about whether he could separate from anyone in coverage. And he struggled, but in the AFC title game and the Super Bowl, he really put the offense on his back late in those games and carried them.
I think it's also
Oh, sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say this is a player that, a year off probably did wonders for the overall physical makeup of Rob Gronkowski. And I've already got friends tweeting saying, is he possibly in football shape? I'm not worried about that. I'm not saying we're going to get, mid-career Rob Gronkowski. He's only 2 years older than Cameron Brate right now. He's 30. And if he's back at full health, I love this. I remember kicking off the offseason saying, beware of winning the offseason, that there is a team every year that seems to do that. And right around now at crescendos, well, the Bucs were not afraid or listening to anything I said back then. They've done it, and they're going to be lodged into 9 or 10 or 12 primetime games. So, Wes, don't worry about watching those Bucs uniforms in the midday sunlight.
That is
Listen how annoyed Mark is by this possibility. Listen, they've earned it, really. I mean, when you go and you get the most famous quarterback of all time, and now you get the most famous tight end of all time, you take them both off the Patriots tree, and everyone's talking about you. You get the primetime games. And Wes, what you said made me think. His last season, and I think that's an important part of this. People are going to pencil in Gronk to be, 2016 Gronk and this peak guy that's going to be a monster. He really did appear to be a player in decline for most of his last season in New England. Then they get the bye. He comes off the bye, and he's a huge player. They get another week off before the Super Bowl, and he has a big Super Bowl. That would be my only question, if that resurgence down the stretch was in some part due to getting that extra rest, and whether his body, while he's around the same age as Cameron Brate, this is a beat-up guy that's had all sorts of injuries throughout his career. Is he someone a year out of the game that's going to be able to stay healthy and be productive? But for a fourth-round pick, it's a no-brainer. It's another great move by Tampa.
Well, I think that's a fair question to ask, especially since O.J. Howard outplayed Gronk for most of that 2018 season. Howard was phenomenal until he went down with his own foot injury. Gronk had the high ankle sprain, if I remember. And unlike any other player I've ever seen in the NFL, he came back from major surgery after major surgery after major surgery stronger than he was before every time. And now he's 31, so it's fair to question what that's going to be like, or even if he's a major upgrade on O.J. Howard. But Tom Brady knows exactly where Gronk is on third down and in the red zone with the game on the line, and who knows if he knows where O.J. Howard is.
Well, it's telling to me that Bill Belichick would rather have a 4th-round pick than he would have O.J. Howard on a team that desperately needs a tight end. And, I mean, O.J. Howard, I don't know what's going on with this guy. They're going to try to move him at this point. But you're right, Wes. We should have read the tea leaves before. I think Gronk made it very clear 24 hours ago in the interview he had on that one other show where he basically said, I'm not just open to playing football again. I want to.
Put some respect on Andy Cohen's name.
Andy Cohen show. Andy Cohen.
Andy Cohen went from the executive suite to a late night talk show host. Put some respect on Andy Cohen's name, Mark.
All right, I didn't realize I'm dealing with like 2 Andy Cohenites here. I mean, I don't disagree, but it's just I'm unfurling the information that I knew of.
I wonder. Here's the other part of it, and we're about to bring in Erica Tamposi. But Greg, I will give you this a question. Gronk stepped away from the game. Always felt like not a great fit with the Bill Belichick regime in terms of the way he views life, the way he goes after things. But guess what? He had a good relationship for 8 or 9 years, whatever it was. Does he come back if Tom Brady comes back to New England? Or is this only happening because Tom Brady leaves town, goes down south to Florida with a player's coach? It feels like to me that Gronk is coming back potentially because Tom Brady left. And this is not a situation where the same thing would have happened if Brady would have stayed in New England.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, reading the reports, mentally playing for Belichick year after year, in addition to the physical problems. I mean, he fell in the draft because he had chronic back issues. And anyone who's watched Gronk kind of cringes every time he's hitting the lower back. And the back is the problem, and that's everything that's gone on. But he's got to be feeling better. He's feeling good enough to be wrestling. And the idea of going down south with Bruce Arians, I mean, that's the thing. It shows how flexible Bruce Arians is, too, that he's going to change his entire offensive philosophy, I think, for Rob Gronkowski. It makes it much more exciting if you're Gronk to come back. And if you're the Patriots, he had them over a barrel, really, because they had no cap room. If he had just unretired, they would have been over the cap. He knew he only had one team that he wanted to go with, which limits your leverage. And he's coming off of retirement. They got the same of him coming out of retirement as Brett Favre did when Brett Favre was almost an MVP candidate and was a quarterback. Marshawn Lynch got a 5th-round pick when he comes out of retirement. I'm not surprised they couldn't get much for him. They're probably happy they got anything for him, but I think you're right. I don't think he'd be playing for Bill Belichick.
All right, let's bring her in. Erica Tamposi. She's a New England native, New England to the bone, and a diehard Patriots fan. And she has really she's on the struggle bus right now, as they say. Ricky, take us through the thought process. Gronk joins Tom Brady in Tampa.
I am at a loss for words, and that doesn't happen very
You weren't like an hour ago.
Yeah, well, we are live, so I have to
she's grieving,
filter,
Greg.
Yeah, I have to filter what I can say here. This is crazy. This is we have to protect Edelman at all costs. This just seems like a total stick it to the Patriots type of. Oh, that's just such a great graphic, right, guys? Don't you love it?
Stop pumping up your own tweets. Just talk.
I mean, well, this is a really great tweet. You guys should definitely check it out since you're on Twitter.
Oh, it's A+.
No.
Yeah, we're definitely not cutting this section for the podcast now, Erica.
Okay, cool, Greg. So, can you believe that he came back? Like, I just am still trying to process. I mean, I get the whole cap space and how, like, the Patriots' hands were sort of tied with it, but it just seems it's just like a 4th-round pick because, like Wes said, Gronk, when he does have rest and he comes back, I mean, like, let's just put the Bucs in the Super Bowl now. Let's do it.
I mean,
Erica,
Erica,
down on that.
Yeah, I would just
Look
ask
at
Erica.
Brady was terrible last year.
Yeah, but you've always said that about Brady, and there's a reason why he's the greatest of all time, to prove people like you wrong.
You're a Johnny
Erica, you've been like
Brady analysis.
You've been riding this magic carpet ride with so many other Patriots fans, and especially Patriots fans of your age have really never seen New England struggle on any level, and suddenly you're on this magic carpet that's just dropped you off, and you're tumbling 3,000 feet towards Earth at full speed.
Into
How
a
does
volcano.
that
Please.
It feels terrible. It feels terrible. One of my best friends just sent me a picture in his little sports room that he has. He has a Gronk jersey on the wall framed and signed, and he has a Brady jersey on the other side of the TV. And he's like, I cursed us. Like, everything that we have grown up to know is, and I know you guys are just so excited that this is ending.
No, we're not.
For a lot of, yes,
I'm
you
a
are.
Patriots. I'm a
It
Patriots
already
fan.
ended.
Like
Craig,
everything
you're not a Patriots
ends.
fan. You're nothing.
I'm
You're nothing.
a huge
retired.
Patriots fan. I was going to Patriots
Right,
games
you
with
did
Doug
say about
Flutie
10
was their
minutes ago you
quarterback.
can't wait for the start of the new season so you could watch Tom Brady and Gronk
Yeah, because I
on
love
this other team.
football. Like, and I understand
know,
that
but,
things end. Here's the thing: everything ends, and if you can't appreciate what Gronk, like, you can't take away what everything Gronk gave to you. And part of it is my faith and my fandom in everything that Bill Belichick has done in the last 20 years. Like, this whole idea that, okay, a 43-year-old quarterback, 42-year-old quarterback, and a tight end who's coming off back surgery and retirement suddenly makes the Bucs on their own like 1,000% better. I don't buy it, because Gronk is a huge risk. I think it could be fun, and I think they might be better, but there's a chance he's worse than OJ Howard, just like 2018. There's a chance Tom Brady's worse than Jameis Winston, like he was.
Well, he makes
for
them
parts of last
1,000
season.
times more marketable. They're more marketable right now. I'm
And
with
huge
you
risks
that
is an overstatement.
Well,
it doesn't matter if you have him on the
don't think
field. People are
their
going to
age
cover
is
him.
a huge risk. And in terms of Gronk, you're right. They're not giving up practically anything for him. He's going to play for 1 year for $10 million, and it's worth a shot. But I also wouldn't be like penciling him in for 16 games and 80 catches.
Well, I mean, first of all, this idea that somehow we should feel sorry for Patriots fans, give me a break.
I know.
Look what you got to watch for 2 decades. Second of all, don't blame other fans for reveling in this. Blame your head coach, who 2 great players no longer wanted to play for. They wanted to keep playing football, but just not for the Patriots.
Here's the thing, though. That the Belichick built the team in a lot of ways.
Spin it, Greggy. Spin it.
I'm not spinning it. I'm saying, like, the philosophy that they built their team with, whether you like it or not, was getting rid of players at this point in their career. And if there was ever an end point for Tom Brady, it was last year. And if there was ever, an end point for Gronk, he retired, and you're just getting something for him. So it is interesting. Like, Patriots fans reveled in this whole idea that, we're cutthroat and, like, we're going to make these smart moves. But when it comes at the very end of what was like the greatest 2-decade run ever, suddenly it's like, how dare they do this to us? Like, this has been how it's going since fans were pissed about Lawyer Malloy getting traded, or Jamie Collins getting traded, or every other trade that they've ever made. And this is the time, I would say, at least for Brady, that made sense. Gronk is a unique case in what we're going to do.
We're going down that same road again, Greg, where we have the argument that all makes sense logically, but if there was ever one guy that should be treated differently than all those other Patriot quote-unquote legends, it was Tom Brady. But we don't need to have that conversation yet again. But I want to know, Julian Edelman is the guy everyone's, save Julian, get him to Tampa. What about Scotty Zolak? Is there any way that he can enter that Tampa Bay Bucs radio booth as the color commentator?
Absolutely not. They've got
going to be nothing to hoot and holler about. Mr. I love Tom Brady himself.
Isn't Zolak the figure who should endure a couple 1-in-15 campaigns to see how his hoopla fest endures 9 weeks into that nuclear winter? I'd love to see that.
Right. See, there's a lot of honking, but, like, are you guys confident that the Buccaneers will be a better team than the Patriots in 2020?
Yeah.
Are you confident? You are.
Yeah, I am.
Yes.
Fairly confident.
What do the Patriots have on offense that we should be confident in?
They got Zola,
and they didn't play well down the stretch last year. The Bucs were a very fun team to watch down the stretch last year. Their defense, their front seven was incredible. To me, they're so much more talented than the Patriots.
I'm with Greg, though. I could still see New England going 12-4 with a bunch of scarecrows and no-namers, and maybe getting knocked out of the playoffs at that point. They're not going 2-14. Come on.
Can I just end it with this? Yes, we had a great 2 decades, but it hurts to see 2 major figures in your life just sort of be swept out like this. And I know that you guys have your heroes in your sports figures, and it's allowed. I think Patriots fans are allowed to feel really upset by this.
Of course.
You're allowed to, and I'm also allowed to enjoy the fact that you're in pain. That's fine.
I guess I don't get why. I don't get why, like, if they retired, though, then you don't feel the pain. But if he's on the Buccaneers, like, you can't.
We did feel the pain, but then he comes back.
Right?
And
Greg, Yeah, and you're going to have to watch Tom Brady in a Bucs uniform like 8 times on Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football. That is a little painful versus Tom Brady riding off into the sunset as a Patriot.
I hope they're good.
All right, let's move on. The draft is coming up in about 48 hours, and that is very exciting. Let's take a spin through some of the things that we're hearing around the league right now. Let's start with Trent Williams. He is the left tackle of the Redskins, had the ugly falling out with management, a guy that everyone believes is going to get moved. It makes a lot of sense that it could happen this week. ESPN's Josina Anderson reports that it is still, quote, on the table that the Browns acquire Williams. And Mark, I feel like this logically makes sense, right? Because you get a sure thing in Trent Williams. It gives you a little bit more. It's going to cost you draft assets, but I imagine not your first round pick. And then you can go use that pick on whatever else you want other than offensive line.
Yeah, I just think outside of the quarterback position, for me, the way that I enjoy watching teams, I don't want to gamble at left tackle. I'd want to know that is a rock solid guy that you can lean on week after week. And Trent Williams has been up and down health wise himself, obviously, at the tail end with the Redskins. But if he checks out and if that works, I think that would be a great move for the Browns to have him for 2 or 3 years, and you use that first round pick to trade down, which they want to do, and acquire assets, or take a totally different type of position versus being kind of locked into having to take a tackle.
You wouldn't give up the 10th pick for Trent Williams, would you?
Personally, no, because from the flip side of my argument is you'd have a rookie left tackle, and if he worked out, you'd have him on a rookie contract. That's expensive, the first rounder. I'm sure that's what Washington wants and what's held the deal up for a while.
In other Redskins news, Rap Sheet reports that Washington has begun to receive calls from teams interested in trading up for the number 2 overall pick. Everyone, Greg, is connecting Chase Young to the Redskins with the 2nd overall pick, the best defensive player on the board. Do you think there's any chance that they move out of that spot?
I think there's always a chance. I think you have to look at like how the news like this comes out. And yeah, it looks a little transparent. No one really believes it's going to happen, but it's coming out because the Redskins are just hoping to get a Ricky Williams type Godfather offer. And so that's always like a possibility. The draft is so unpredictable. No one would have ever thought that the Bears would give up a bounty that set their franchise back to move up 1 pick for Mitchell Trubisky. Like that would have seemed absolutely outrageous. So I'm always willing to be surprised by a move on draft day, and them not drafting Chase Young is probably about as big a surprise as we could get.
Wes, you buying it?
I think the fact that the team holding the number 2 pick in the draft is fielding phone calls from interested suitors. That's like saying in the early 90s that Cal Ripken Jr. is in the lineup today and the sun will come up tomorrow. We got it. It happened.
Is that a shot at our insider?
It's just a shot at the fact that, it happens every year with every team that's ever held the number 2 pick. Other teams call them to say, here's what we're thinking, All right, we got it.
Bigger.
That's
it's bigger than one figure. It's the entire machine. He's taken on the entire machine, Greg. In other news, another veteran player like Trent Williams that's a Pro Bowl level talent that has prime years remaining, Yannick Ngakoue, defensive lineman of the Jaguars. He wants out of town, and it has not happened yet, a trade. And that all bubbled over on social media this week on Monday when Ngakoue he went at Tony Khan, the team's senior vice president and a key team building figure with the Jaguars, said to stop hiding. And that led to a fairly ugly back and forth between Khan and Ngakoue, where Tony Khan, in a move that surprised me, was not afraid to fire back and throw a little shade at the player, and then the player returned it in kind. In general, these are chaotic times for the Jaguars, and I would just say, from my opinion, I don't think Khan should be doing this, but at the same time, if Yannick wants out of town, maybe this wasn't the route to go, an open verbal warfare with the top of management for his current team.
Yeah, the strongest argument that Khan offered, I thought, was, not a great way to market yourself, Ngakoue. And, I don't really want that player tweeting at me. So, I wish him the best. But at the same time, whoever's going to field to think about trading for him is taking on this disgruntled person too. So you're going to have to trade for him, extend him. The Seahawks have been floated out there as a team that might be interested in something like this, depending on the cost. He's a great player, but it's striking to me how many Jaguars starters seem to be totally disgruntled with the organization right now.
Look at the agent, by the way. Must have gotten to Ngakoue. Look at this pleasant tweet. Is this from today? Well, this is not the one that was bringing the heat yesterday. I don't like this one as much.
To be fair, I think the Jaguars would say he has been a model citizen, like a hard worker, a guy they loved having around the building, and has not been a problem at all. And I take issue with, part of Khan's statements where he mentions it's a new regime. Like you can't say it's a new regime when it's the same ownership and it's the same general manager who's been there since 2013. They've lost more games than any team except the Browns, and it's the same coach that was there when Blake Bortles was there. Like, it's not a new regime. So
preach, Greg, preach. Can't do it. Can't do it. It's not a new regime unless you sweep out the old one. And you can make Tom Coughlin the big bad wolf here, but it wasn't just Coughlin. I mean, come on, Jaguars.
I think you can get a lot for
You're not going to
Ngakoue,
sweep out
the.
You could. You're not going to sweep out the owner's son, though, as part of a new regime. I mean,
Well, no, but of course you're not going to sweep out a Khan from the Jaguars. I'm talking about the GM and the coach.
Yeah. The GM's been there since 2013, and it's been a rough go. I think they will have a really fun draft, though. I mean, the draft picks they already have, and then I think you can probably get, Mark Sessler said they're going to get 2 second-round picks in his mock draft. He's been breaking news all day, so I know that's going to happen.
Well, book it there. The second annual Mark Sessler mock draft is our latest edition of the Around the NFL podcast. Look for that a little later today. All right, that's what's happening in the news. Let us move on now. It is, speaking of the draft, how about the dream draft? We're going to each pick a team here and do something in a dream scenario is exactly what that team needs to do. So it's kind of like little unsolicited advice basically to these teams, how to handle these major decisions that have long-term ramifications for each organization. So let's get it going. Mark Sessler, you have a dream draft scenario for the Green Bay Packers. Let's hear it.
Yeah, and I've been real tough on the Packers for years, and I didn't like what they did all last offseason. Whistling Dixie about we couldn't be happier with our young wide receivers, and it's not all on them, but that offense lacked punch at times, and I think that Aaron Rodgers could use another big pass catcher to go with Davante Adams. And what I'd like to see them do, and I hear the argument, just stay at home and pick a wide receiver in the 5th round because it's such a deep class. Give me a break. Every year there's deep classes of positions, and there are still 1 or 2 or 3 guys that are above the rest. I'd love to see Green Bay trade up in this draft to get a bunt in front of some of these wide receiver needy teams like the Jets and the Raiders and the Niners, and go get Jerry Jeudy and pair Jerry Jeudy with Davante Adams. Jerry Jeudy, an awesome route runner. A lot of people, there's debate which one's the best, but he fits with Green Bay. I'd love to see him on this team. And then Aaron Rodgers, you have no excuses at that point. You have all the weapons you need. Go get it done.
Wow, Mark. Really well thought out there.
I've left the room in silence. Is that good or bad? I don't know.
This is the move Dan Handis has wanted. Some more weapons for his boy Aaron Rodgers.
You know what? As you say, Greg, I've been honking about that for so long that I've kind of given up hope that they're actually ever going to go down that path of giving Rodgers one more guy. But then, Bob McGinn's on our show, and McGinn's making the point that it's been overstated that Rodgers doesn't have enough weapons. I don't know. McGinn knows the Packers better than anybody, but the production outside of Adams there between the tight end position and the wide receivers was pretty grim last year. They could use another guy. I like that one. That's a nice dreamy scenario, Mark. Sorry you didn't get the immediate reaction you were looking for. Greg Rosenthal, how about you on the Philadelphia Eagles?
I'm staying at the receiver position, and I think they need one. And I am giving them Denzel Mims of Baylor. And this is just my chance to honk about Denzel Mims. I've looked at these wide receivers, and I can't understand why Mims is not a top 10 to 15 pick in this draft. His athleticism is just outrageous. He tested, better than anyone at the combine, which is usually not my thing, like the short shuttle, all that stuff. But when you look at the ball skills that he has, He reminds you of like a little more athletic, maybe Braylon Edwards type of player, like red zone, deep passes, and the speed and the explosion, everything. I feel like if it was a different draft, he would maybe be higher, but because there's so many good, like polished guys, and he was a little up and down at Baylor, he's gonna slip. And if I'm an Eagles fan or a Patriots fan or any of those guys looking for receivers around that portion of the draft, it's all about Denzel Mims.
My father-in-law is a big-time Baylor guy. My wife went to Baylor. Her parents both went to Baylor. Her brother went to Baylor. And Bob Bates texted me right here on February 25th at 9 a.m. exactly, almost like a timed text that Bob sent my way. Denzel Mims is a player, will be a star. Mark it down. Bear emoji, Baylor Bears, smiley face. And he's been hitting me up with that stuff fairly regularly all year. So he's Bob Bates is with Greg Rosenthal. Mims has all the prototypical like freak traits that you're not seeing with some other guys in this draft. So all right, let's get wild. I like that, Greg. All right,
If I got Bob Bates on board, I'm in good shape.
Well, what is Bob's overall track record with these time suggestions over the past couple of years? I mean, he's almost blindly a Baylor fan.
Yes, out. But he's been good about saying, who's a knucklehead, who's a guy to get behind, who's not. He did think Bryce Petty could play. He was another Baylor guy who washed out with the Jets. But
I remember some Corey Coleman talk.
I'm sure he was into Corey Coleman, but I'll have to double back on Corey Coleman to see what he really felt about Corey. But this one, he's never pounded the table like he's pounded for Denzel Mims. Wes, you're Denver Broncos.
Well, my Denver Broncos. All right. We are fascinated with this wide receiver class because I'm going with one too. Dan, help me out with this lyric. You can't always get what you want.
But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need.
Right. And we keep hearing the Broncos want to trade up for Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb. But what if what they need is Henry Ruggs' speed? And what if he lasts until that pick? I like the idea with Courtland Sutton being the big guy on the outside, the prototypical number one, a red zone threat. You bring in Ruggs, you can do a lot of the Tyreek Hill stuff behind the line of scrimmage, before the snap. You can put the ball in his hands and watch him go. I like the idea of pairing Henry Ruggs with Courtland Sutton. This team has a major vacancy in the number 2 receiver role. You throw in Ruggs' speed with Noah Fant, who's one of the fastest tight ends in the league, and now you're cooking.
We're on fire with the wide receiver hype right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's more exciting than when Mark
one
had
position
7 tackles go in his mock draft. 7 tackles in your first round. I mean, it's not going to get the people excited.
I mean, Greg, if you take a look at a few mock drafts, if you even were to look at 2 or 3 of them, I am not the only person going down that avenue because the class is that rich at the position.
Greg, we've talked about this before. We are trying to pump up Mark Sessler as one of the great mock drafters in this nation. I think financially it could benefit all of us eventually. So let's keep some of that negative talk.
Yeah, Greg seems a tad uncomfortable with it. Already sending, can we please edit the end of that show we just recorded about the mock draft? Can we tinker with it and remove a prediction that Mark made that was provenly devastatingly correct in the middle of our episode? I don't know. It feels a bit Machiavellian, but fair enough.
Interesting. All right. I like that, Wes. That makes a lot of sense. And if this Drew Lock thing is going to work, you might as well give him a talented young wide receiver to build with. I'm going to move away from the wide receiver group and focus on the quarterback room and Los Angeles Chargers. And we're going to get to a little bit later with their new uniforms. We'll talk to Kay about that. But I don't want to hear this Tyrod Taylor stuff. If you really want to make it work, and we're all Los Angelinos here, we've been living here for a long time now. If you really want to make this work and you want to get people excited, you do not go into 2020 with Tyrod. You take a chance on a quarterback. And yes, it is a chance because, like we just spoke with the great Dean of American Draft Insiders, Bob McGinn, this is not a quarterback class that's flawless. Every guy you can get a little nervous about and point to, whether it's injury concerns or their ability to translate their game to the pros. There's going to be some issues once you get past Joe Burrow, who's not going to be there by the time the Chargers pick. So the Chargers are going to have to take a leap of faith. Do it. do it, Chargers. If there ever was a time in the history of your organization to take a leap of faith, it is right now with the 6th overall pick, or even before that, if you feel like you got to move up to get a QB. And I don't even care who it is. I think Tua is a guy, and let me get the name right, Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa. Is that right?
You've done it.
Nailed it.
If you get Tua there, there's obviously a lot of reasons to be excited. Also, with the injury issues and his size, reasons to be nervous about how he translates to the pro game. His durability, especially, is something to get worried about. Justin Herbert at Oregon, maybe he's the guy. That's not my forte. That's Mark Sessler's forte about who is the guy to get. But just get one of these guys and give it a shot. And I know that sometimes that's viewed as a kiss of death. You should draft for not like at a position of need. You just take the best player available, but it's about a leap of faith. So I think the uniform launch is nice and all that stuff, but you have to have a young quarterback to build around and get people excited. So go get one at number 6 or before, Chargers. That's a dream scenario, I think.
What are you laughing at there, Sessler?
I just thought the analysis was so crisp from Dan that I'm kind of just left here in my bedroom in awe.
I don't know. That happens a lot when I say something.
It's got to be Tagovailoa to get excited about. Justin Herbert's going to feel like.
Oh, now you're just bragging because you could have said Tua there, Greg, and you just went with the last name. That was bragging.
It's gotta be Tua. Justin Herbert feels like, well, Tua's hurt, so we got to take someone, and that's no way to move into a stadium.
All right. Let's check out a couple tweets. This is the Twitter show, so let's check out some tweets. Oh, Edelman has unfollowed Brady on Insta. Now, I don't know Georgia Bell, the Bonafides, as an insider and whether we should trust this, but let's assume it to be factual. Whoa, let's bring back Erica Tamposi right now because, oh, my goodness. Ricky, what's going on in your mind right now? Edelman unfollowed Brady. That feels like it's getting personal.
This is juicy. This is crazy.
How do you know he followed him in the first place?
Because they're always posting on each other.
Craig, will you stop it?
Yeah, they post. Yeah, come on. That's crazy.
It's been confirmed, by the way.
We're going with the segment. This feels fairly unverified.
Greg, our producer, Jason Kleiman, says it's confirmed.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been many other people reporting it on Twitter right now. This got personal. Do you think that that Edelman's jealous that Brady went out to Gronk and was like, "Come to Tampa"? Like something's going on. So now it's juicy. Now we're getting juicy here.
So, but like, why would Edelman be annoyed that Brady would try to get Gronk on his new team? Wow. We've come a long way from that Syracuse game.
I feel like this is the type of thing that now that we're, surrounded by a global pandemic, maybe it's not even worth worrying about,
Oh, look at Greg. Greg.
I know it's keeping Wes up at night.
I see through it, Greg. I just want you to know. I see through it.
I'm just saying no one's verified that he was following him in the first place. How do you know?
But if you're going to play like it's this, what does this really matter in the grand scheme of things? Why are we doing a football Twitter show right now? I mean, where do you draw the line?
A very fair question.
The football Twitter show is getting my family paid. Worrying about some social media follows is not.
Well, this is part of that show, Greg, just to play along with the rest of the group.
Here's another one. Oh, from our good buddy Kyle Brandt. We're going to have Kay Adams on in a few minutes. Here's Kyle. Let's pump the brakes. Gronk and Brady still just the number 2 Tampa power couple. And that's the Tiger King lady. She killed her first husband,
Baskins.
Right? Carol Baskins, right? She fed him to the Tigers, allegedly, of course.
Allegedly.
But not afraid to upgrade that power couple.
Greg, did you watch the Tiger King? I feel like that's something that maybe you would pass on, despite it being a cultural fascination.
I have not. Yeah, I have not watched the Tiger King. I'm sure it's good.
Wes, how about you?
I watched it before just about anyone. It blew my mind. It reminded me a bit of, say, the Manson family or any other cult, except with wild exotic animals involved.
Did Baskin feed her first husband to the Tigers? Mark Sessler.
Definitively, yes.
Definitively.
Where does this end now? Is there anyone else we can take away from the Patriots to hurt them more and cause Greg to spin further?
Edelman.
Edelman's the
Well,
last.
I've been
trifecta.
saying they should be trading Edelman. Package him to the Lions to move up and go get
That's what I was,
Tua,
or maybe
start it all over.
Gilmore and Edelman. All of a sudden, we got the number 3 pick. Ooh,
Just take all the
spicy.
McCourties away from them. You know, that would hurt their brand a
I'm
little.
not
Belichick.
so into trading the defensive player of the year. Maybe the 34-year-old slot receiver with injury problems would be more fun.
Are you still acting like you're going to root for the Patriots this year?
I'll be
You've
rooting
been
for
telling
you.
us
talking
for
to me or
6
Greg?
years you're done rooting for the Patriots.
I said when Belichick leaves.
Greg.
Yeah, that.
If you missed the beginning of the show, we are talking about Rob Gronkowski, who is now set to become a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A trade. The Patriots send Gronkowski and a 7th rounder to Tampa in exchange for a 4th round pick. And now Tom Brady teams with Rob Gronkowski and the Bucs. The NFC South, we love the NFC South. It's pretty saucy right now, and it keeps getting saucier by the hour. Greg, I know that's your favorite division.
It has been a long time. I think it's been the most interesting and the best division the last 15 years or so. And they have rivalries between the fans and the teams that I think beat any other division at this point, except for Tampa. Tampa always feels like the team that's a little left out, and now they got a little more juice there. A lot more juice.
What do you think, Mark? Do you think Gronk is going to be the type of guy that puts together? I'm going to do over/under on Gronk. You ready? Here we go. Mark.
Okay.
You ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yes, I'm ready.
Over/under. Rob Gronkowski 2020 stats: 63 catches, 63 and a half catches.
Oof.
Under.
1,000 yards.
Under.
10
Under.
touchdowns.
Under.
So you're thinking this is not going to be a big addition to the offense in terms of the passing production.
I think there's something else going on there for me a little bit, that there are a lot of other mouths to feed, and it's not just I don't know if it's an offense, I need to see it, but that's going to run through Gronkowski the way that those New England attacks did. There's just different types of weapons here.
He would have been way under in 2 of the last 3 years of those numbers with the Patriots. You know, as a younger man,
right?
Like not even close to those numbers. So it's a lot to ask for him to be prime Gronk. I think if they got 650 yards, 8 touchdowns, and the blocking that he used to have, I think they should be happy.
Yeah, forget about the regular season. I think they'll minimize his snaps. Brady's thinking playoffs, so make sure your Gronk is healthy for January and February.
That is a good call, but you know the difference between the Bucs of 2020 and the Patriots of much of Gronk's career is that you had that level of security, knowing you were up 2 or 3 games in your division to pick your places with him. Whereas the Bucs, they might be in just a battle to try to make the playoffs, and you imagine it will be, especially in that division.
Yeah, I'm hesitant of this. Just throw them into January. Like maybe, you know what? It just depends what seed will they be in the NFC. A long way to go on that front.
You're okay though.
Those are fair points.
I mean that
You're okay,
feels.
ultimately.
What do you mean?
You're okay.
You guys always
You're
try
okay
to
with
make
it.
it about me as a fandom. I don't have to feel how.
Yes, we do.
I don't know. Maybe I don't have the part of my heart inside me, but Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady gave me more joy as a fan than I would have expected to have an entire lifetime. I'm gonna like watching them. Like ultimately, I like football more than I like the Patriots.
Do you know what the Patriots need? To me right now, because it's just been bad news on top of bad news, if you're a Patriots fan like Ricky at least, is somebody to get excited about in this draft. How about some type of quarterback move here? I know that's not how you run an organization, but perhaps that is the way to say, sorry fans, I know it's been a rough month or so, but here's a shiny new toy that's going to get you more excited than Brian Hoyer.
Here's what I've learned. Patriots off seasons almost always are wrong. Every year that the fans are upset, it goes well. Every year that people get overexcited, it goes poorly. Like give me a 3-1 record with Stidham at quarterback, and that's what you can give a Patriots fan.
All right. Now we have a very special guest. Mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Our favorite program, Good Morning Football. She's the host. Look at the queen. There's Kay Adams. You know her at Hey Kay Adams. She's dancing. And are you doing a lot of dancing during this lockdown, Kay? What's going on? Welcome to the Around the NFL Twitter show.
I'm so honored to finally be asked to be part of this very program. You guys are at my absolute favorites. This is so much fun. Dancing, more dancing than anything else that's productive. I feel like I went in deep early, Zeuser. I got like a ukulele. I haven't taken it out of the box yet. I bought a treadmill. I haven't used it. But I'm so excited about this Gronk news, and it's draft week and there's sports.
We need to really all get the most out of the next 3 or 4 days, because it's going to get very quiet after this. And Kay, you're a big outdoors woman. You love to climb mountains and go nuts. So I imagine this is even tougher for you than for the average person right now.
I'm an actual introvert. So at first I was like, piece of cake. Like, I don't like talking to people, crossword puzzles and all that. But now I'm absolutely losing it. Like, I cannot be trusted. I need to get out. I need to get out, but we got to be responsible, right?
See, I knew you'd be responsible. Okay. What about the draft? So what are you excited the most about? And what about the madness of this virtual draft? Is that something that you're going to be wildly plugged into and like everyone else in America, worried if something is going to go terribly wrong, or some people rooting for something to go wrong just for it to be chaos? Some people like the chaos theory.
It almost seems like an inevitability at this point. I mean, if you saw Good Morning Football this morning, we were supposed to have Joe Burrow and Joey Bosa, and there was a gremlin in the wires and eating everything, and it just couldn't happen.
Ooh.
So the draft could go off the rails like that. You sort of just have to be a part of it, break down the fourth wall. I think we're going to see a different side of NFL front offices and fans and all of it than we're ever used to. It's unprecedented. So I'm definitely here for that. As far as the draft itself, Patriots, what are you doing? What are we doing here? Are we finding a successor? Do you have a plan? You have to prove that you made the right move, releasing the GOAT to Tampa Bay. Now we've got New England South. It's crazy. Other than that, guys, I'd say Jordan Love is the most interesting, because he's the cilantro and the blue cheese of this draft. He is, the most polarizing cat out there.
So are you with me, Kay? This idea that the Pats, they essentially dumped Tom Brady. Now Gronk is playing with Tom in Tampa, that they should extend an olive branch to their fans who are going through a shock right now and go get somebody that excites you. Come on, Greg. I see you shaking your head. What do you think, Kay?
I agree with Zeuser on most things. I'm ready for a little bit of change in the AFC East, and I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited to see what they do. Of course, the thing is, it's, Belichick's still there. So I still trust Belichick. That said, you guys know this as well. They haven't drafted perfectly in the past several years. They haven't drafted a Pro Bowl talent since 2013 when they took Jamie Collins. They let so many pieces of that defense go. I was just on NFL Instagram Live with Chase Winovich, and I'm talking to this kid who's showing his puppy, and he's such a good time. But I asked him, I say, are you ready to be the guy? Because no more Jamie Collins, no more Kyle Van Noy, no more Landon Roberts. Like, it's you. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm totally ready. And so it'll be very interesting to see what they can pull out of their little magical hat.
And yeah, people don't know
one very smart thing, by the way. Sorry, this happens to us all the time. Go ahead, Greg.
I was gonna say, people don't know, you used to be a Patriots insider. I mean, that was your beat. Have you been keeping up, the sources there and kind of what's going on behind the scenes?
I wouldn't say I'm an insider. I loved the team for a moment in time, and I'm always following what they're up to. Of course, they're sort of hard to penetrate, but I'm more concerned truly with the welfare of one Julian Edelman. Like, has anyone checked on him? I asked Evan McCourty. He said he hadn't checked on him. Like, somebody needs to check on Jules. I'm a little worried about him at this point.
Well, we learned that Jules has unfollowed Tom Brady on social media, and let's check in with Instagram. I think we have something on the gram here. Yeah, that's true. That's breaking news here at NFL. These two, Tom Brady and Gronk.
That's old.
Yeah, that is old.
Right, they are not together right now.
And then Tom replied, "Run it back." So Tommy's excited. Julian maybe not as excited. You mentioned the draft, by the way, Kay, and you'll be a part of Draftathon Live, a 3-day streaming event to benefit the NFL's Draftathon to raise money for COVID-19 relief, NFL.com/relief to donate. What do you got going on? Like, what's your role with this?
Well, I'm really happy to be a part of it in any way. I mean, it's Rich Eisen, it's Deion Sanders. You can't have an NFL draft without Eisen. So I'm excited that it's a fundraiser for sure. I'm here in Lower Manhattan. I'm stuck in a 700 square foot apartment. I hear the sirens every 5 seconds. I am part of the clapping that goes on at 7 p.m. Eastern every day. People hanging out of their windows to thank all the health workers out there. And so the fact that we are using the draft as such a platform to be a positive thing, to raise money for the most unfortunate people who are affected by everything going on with COVID-19. I'll do anything to help with that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I know that I'm scheduled every day. So apparently I'm going to pop in, and I was just told you don't know who's going to show up. So I'm expecting Bill Murray. That's my expectation. I want to be in a Zoom with me and Eisen, and I want Bill Murray and Eddie Vedder. Who else can I nominate? Dermot Mulroney, Milo Ventimiglia, all the guys I have crushes on. Could they just show up and
the entire cast of heroes? Just get them all there. By the way, you are a Bears fan, right, Kay?
Okay.
You're a supporter.
Wait, you don't advertise this? We're honest here on the Around the NFL podcast. We
I don't know if it's that I'm not honest. I am. I'm a Bears fan, but I'm also I love the Chargers.
You rep Chicago.
I rep Chicago. Yeah. Why? What's going on?
Well, here's a tweet. Bears GM Ryan Pace said today he will draft in his dining room, has 7 monitors and a cord running from his router down the stairs to his setup to make sure internet is running smoothly. Noted a hiccup the other day when his wife vacuumed and accidentally unplugged his monitors. That just happened to me moments ago. My son walked into this garage and almost tripped over the hard line here. This is madness, Kay. What's happening in the world right now? That tweet even exists.
GMs, they're just like us, guys. They're all just like us, getting ready to go and revving up. I know Sean Payton actually weirdly responded to a tweet that I had sent and showed me his war room setup. It looks slick. It looks ready to go, but it's going to be one of those Jurassic Park, Samuel L. Jackson, hold on to your butts moments, every pick, every round. This thing, it's going to be a ride we're all going to have to just get on and enjoy together.
And
one quick question for you. Yeah. Sorry, I have to know this information. So Peter Schrager, I mean, we had him on, and he, I thought very wisely, got out of town with his family and absconded to Baltimore, and he's in a basement there. Any offers, any olive branches given to you to say, come along with our family to, out of the busy city, come be in the safety of distant Baltimore, or no? Or did he ignore that offer?
It's a fair question.
A lot. You were asking if he invited me to come to Baltimore?
Yeah. Did he? I mean, come quarantine with our family, be safe and sound in our
get out of the big city.
I think I know the answer.
Be closer to 7 people you don't know all the time. Yeah.
I didn't get the invite, but I think that I would get the invite if I had been in New York sooner. I was in Costa Rica on vacation, literally in the jungle, cut off from all communication. I got back to the airport and turned on the Wi-Fi and was like, "There's no travel from Europe to what's happening." So I was off the grid for about 3 weeks, and I came back to this, and I came back to a toilet paperless society in New York. And once I got here, I was stuck. But he did offer to order me some food on my birthday. He hit me up and said, "What's open? What can I get you?" So that was very nice.
That was
Did
very
the ukulele
nice.
get any work in Costa Rica?
Still in the box.
It was one of those things where Westling, I love you, Westling. How are you? I thought to myself, look, this will be a really cool thing to do. Like, I'll be like Miss Somewhere Over the Rainbow, like positive vibes, and it's literally sitting in the box. I haven't taken it out. Colleen Wolfe has one on her wall, and we should have a
little braggy that she put it on the wall. Little braggy, Colleen's
you
got
could have
on
a
the
little
wall.
jam band.
Kay, we got to get you on the pod audio show one of these times, if for no other reason than to pin you down on what your favorite team is, because you've mentioned the Patriots, the Chargers, the Bears. We know there's a team in there that rises above all, and you're being a professional journo by not revealing it, but we're going to get it out of you, and we're going to have you on the show to do it.
Ask me a question that would find out what's my favorite team. Like, if the question is which team would you love to see win the Super Bowl more than any team, the answer is the New Orleans Saints.
Because you're rooting for the good story there.
Well, just because Sean Payton just jumped in the mentions, and whoever gave you the love the last, just go with them.
This is.
Maybe, but then I just think that they've earned it. I think They're the most complete team. I think they got even better this offseason. I'm just in. I'm in on them.
And they got
And I just
screwed. They got screwed a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's been a tough
get
couple
that.
of years with me and my picks.
All right. So Kay Adams, she's the best. She's going to be part of Draftathon Live, and you could check that out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. This is awesome talking to you, Kay. And let's do it again soon. Let's make this a regular thing.
Absolutely. Zeuser, let somebody else talk once in a while. I mean, what are we doing here?
Good luck with that.
Poor Greg with nine G's in the West. I mean, I didn't even see West there hiding in the corner. Jeez, Zeuser.
I mean, hosting 101 here from the host herself.
Wow.
Put my spot in a big spot. Okay, thank you very much. That is Kay's final time on the show.
Stay safe, be well. Love to Lakeisha. Bye.
Bye, Kay. Listen, when you are given, does anybody else have a ton of notes in front of you and a producer sending you Slack messages saying to move things along?
I have some
I'm just trying to move the show.
Chargers uniforms, that was a possible topic.
We didn't get to that.
I got
Had a few notes there, but that's okay.
Greg stole them.
It is not my my wish to, try to hog that interview, but I was just trying to shepherd it in a way, and maybe if it came off as if I was doing that, I apologize. Both you guys and all the viewers.
The listeners
I feel
have
safe
to work
in your
through
thought.
this. So
I give up. All right. Before we say goodbye, one final thought on what's on your mind right now as we get ready for the 2020 draft. Mark Sessler, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, I know our producers have a little bit of something to show here, and we can get that up on the screen. One thing I would say is essentially don't be me on any level when it comes to the draft. This is a disastrous. Yes, Dan, this is a bit of disastrous video that escaped after the Browns drafted Johnny Manziel. And look at me, a total naive, clapping and wriggling around in my Radio City Music Hall seat, thinking that the earth was suddenly different for the Browns. Little did I know. Little did I know. And I would just say this. There's a bunch of people out there that jump into the draft the day it's happening, understandably, and they think the player their team took is all problem solved. You've made a total home run. And then you go look at every draft record, and it's littered with wreckage. Be wise. Don't fall for the hoopla. Have some sort of measured philosophical approach to this for once. It's great that it's all happening, but don't be me. Don't be this guy who completely lost control of his emotions off of Johnny Manziel, an utterly absurd moment in my adulthood that I sharply regret years later.
Can I have a counterpoint on that? Well,
yeah, please
that's
do.
No, because these are my These are
Mark,
my
that's
feelings.
what
So
sports
you
are
cannot
about.
counterpoint my. This is.
No,
I'm talking.
You're
I'm not,
telling people.
I'm telling you.
Don't get sucked in.
You
and
tell
be
me what I'm
excited.
telling people.
No, I'm saying.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
telling
saying.
people
I'm
that they
saying.
shouldn't.
What I'm saying is when your team takes like the fifth quarterback off the board and you are trying to walk around town, prancing around, telling people that they've done everything, that the best thing possible, just be careful. That's all. Not don't be happy. Be careful. I looked like an idiot right there for not really understanding what was happening in real time. And you know what? It's a bunch of brown stuff inside of me all bubbling up. But I'm saying you don't want to be that guy. And I think that coming from a Browns fan, Browns fans would understand. Don't fall into this trap again. Have a little bit of measure, a little bit of common sense before you get swept away emotionally. I get that it's a public drug and everything, but please.
I'm not sure
Wes.
I buy the cynical Mark Sessler.
I don't
prefer
either.
the other
It's
version.
couldn't be more phony. It's not who you are.
It is not phony at all. I honestly, you're not seeing me jump out of my seat for any of these draft picks at this point. I've learned from that.
All right, Chris Wessling. One final thought.
Well, you heard Kay say that they're all clapping for the healthcare workers every night at 7:00, and we have talked about them on this show. I want to give a shout out to the people on the front lines, the civil servants, the police officers, and one in particular, John Harrison from Bristol, UK. Happy 29th birthday. Out there every day on the front lines, and your fiance Beth sent a very nice message. So happy birthday, John Harrison. Officer John Harrison.
Yeah, Johnny Harrison. Good for you, buddy. Thank you for your service. Greg, one final thought.
Yeah, Dan, I feel differently about the Patriots like owing their fans anything than you. If ever there's a team that doesn't owe their fans anything, I feel like it's the Patriots after what they've given them last couple of decades. With that said, go get Tua. I just feel like it's setting up. I feel like the Patriots have a few extra picks. There's a chance that Tua falls in this draft, and it just feels like Nick Saban's favorite player going to Nick Saban's favorite old boss just feels so right. And that is a move. I think I would clasp my hands, and maybe a tear would come in the corner of my eye.
Do it, Greg.
And my cold heart, would even warm up just a little bit.
Interesting. And then that's kind of what I meant in the sense that if you really are, if you're going to be, very cold and calculated in your business dealings and say goodbye to the past and move on to the future, well, what is the future? Well, a young quarterback that you trade up and get, that tells the fans we are moving on to the next phase. I'd be nervous. I don't want you to do that. I'd be worried.
It'd be a lovely moment.
One final thought. I would say everybody embrace the madness of what's going to come on Thursday. Really the whole draft, but Thursday especially with this virtual draft and how crazy it's going to be and how different it's going to be, and this idea that all 32 teams are going to pull this off without a glitch. And, speaking as a team that's eternally suffering and always seems to get things wrong as a Jets fan, you don't want to be the team that has the technical difficulties and is mocked by everyone. So there's like two things you got to nail on the Thursday night this year. You got to get the draft pick right, and you just got to have the technology right. So my big picture, though, is we might never have another draft like this as long as we live. Hopefully we don't. So everybody settle in with your favorite beverage of choice and embrace the madness. All right. This is it's been an interesting edition of the Around the NFL Twitter show. We've enjoyed doing it all through the lead up to the draft. So thank you, everybody, for watching along. And remember, the Around the NFL podcast has you covered all through the week, and especially through the draft Thursday night and then Saturday night, recapping the whole thing. So this is Dan Hansa signing off for Quiet Storm, the Mailman, and the Old Boss. And thank you to everybody around the city for helping us put this show together. Until next week, and a little say goodbye with Rob Gronkowski. By the way, he is a WWF champion. So that's the last thing.
Gonna have to defend that.
Or drop the belt, as they say in the industry. All right. Until next time.